ก็มือเดียวสามารถเทียนนะแต่ว่าถ้ามี2 ภารกิจก็อาจจะ2 มื้อถ้ามีภารกิจตอนบ่ายก็คงต้อง2 มื้อถ้าไม่ได้ออกไปไหนตอนบ่ายก็คงมื้อเดียวเพราะตอนเช้าเชกินเยอะจะใช้พลังงานเยอะตอนบ่ายตอนวันจะเน้นนี่ผักแต่ตอนเย็นไม่กินฝึกตัวเองตื่นมานี่คือกินเลยแต่อย่างเช่นวันนี้ก็กินเร็วสุดในทุกวันนะเพราะว่าเราไปตลาดเร็วHello everyone. Today is very amazing and enthusiasm exciting for me because I have a lot of healthy food. Thank you, my girlfriend, to make it for me.เห็ดมันสามารถต้มกับไข่ได้เหรอครับมันจะต้มยังไงเพราะว่าเดี๋ยวมันจะเปิดล้างเปลือกไข่กันนะ
อีกอย่างมันไม่ได้กินในเปลือกแล้วก็พอ
ก็จริงวะแต่ว่าเดี๋ยวแต่ล้างเปลือกไข่ไม่เป็นไรเดี๋ยวมันเห็ดเปลือกไข่จะทะเลาะกันHi, one people, nice to meet you. Today I have a lot of healthy food.โหข้าว10 บาทได้เยอะเลยนะเนี่ยMaybe I will use this first. Okay. I have 2 of this. I will eat it in my lunch time. Maybe. เช็ดกินให้หมดก่อนอันนึงแล้วเดี๋ยวค่อยเทกันหัวจะเทเลยดีกว่ามันจะได้หลายอย่างนะเทไปดีกว่าHello, 17 people. Nice to meet you. Today my weight is 58.6. After I eat, my weight will increase 2 or 3 kilogram, maybe 4. and I eat a lot of food in the morningโอเคเนี่ย My friend made boiled egg and veggie for me. I will waiting for her. It is my pineapple and strawberry. Okay, maybe this. And I have banana. I will eat it one before I eat. Time to learn. Increase skill.เช้าทำไม่อยู่เหรอเป็นอันนี้เท่าเดิมนะหรือว่าน่าจะลดมาหน่อยมั้งนะน่าจะลดมาทุกวันนะมั้งหรือว่าเพราะว่าช่วงนี้ภารกิจเยอะ
เราไม่ได้ย่างทุกวัน
แบน This is for garbage.
Strategies that work better with your assistant to buy back your time. If you're not doing these things, you are spending time on things that are sucking your energy that don't make you any money. See, I've been teaching people how to hire executive assistants, train them to get more leverage so that they don't build the business that they grow to hate, which unfortunately is how most entrepreneurs do it. That's why I teach the buyback principle, which is we don't hire people to grow our business. We hire people to buy back our time, because if we do the second, we get the first. And the executive assistant is one of the highest forms of leverage in your first hire. Now, most people don't know how to do it right, and that was my journey. I had to learn through trial and error and having somebody make huge mistakes and try to figure out what's the communication rhythm. How do I get them integrated into my inbox? How do I get my calendar work? How do I make the whole system work so they actually feel relieved, not stressed out that somebody's just one email away from making a huge mistake? That's what I want to share with you, and there's 4 key areas that we're going to unpack with 3 strategies per area. Let's get into it. The first pillar that I want to unpack is the inbox. You know, a long time ago, my brother called me up and he's like, hey man, I think it's time that I hire an assistant. I see what you're doing. I see what you've done with clients. How do I do this? So I sent him everything. I sent him the processes, the test project, the profiling assessment, the whole thing. And he actually went on and hired somebody. And I remember a month later, I'm at his house and I'm like, yo man, how's the new assistant? I'm excited to hear how they're buying back your time. And he kind of replies with a bit of a sigh. And he's like, I don't really see what the big idea is. And when he did that, I knew exactly where he missed his opportunity. And I asked him one question. Is your assistant managing 100% of your emails that come into your life?
กำลังจะทำอะไร
Or are you just seeing that person on tasks they need to do?
ถ้าจะตากเศษฝากถ้าเก็บเงินตู้ไอ้
Why
นี่
is
นะ
there a
ตู้เติมเงิน
difference? Yes, there's a difference. Essentially, your
พอดี
inbox
เชื่อ
is a public to-do
ต้อง
list
ใช้เงินหมุนเวียน
for strangers off the internet.
เดี๋ยวต้องไปเติมน้ำมันบ้านเจ๊หง
Think
ก็
about that.
เดี๋ยว
Your
ก็ได้ก็
email
ต้องมา
is
เติม
a
ไอ้ตู้นี้อีก
sophisticated
2 ตู้เนี่ย
distraction
แต่
machine
เอาไว้ก่อน
for people that you
เดี๋ยวทำบ้าน
may
เจ๊หง
not know of that are just asking you for time or your attention. People that you're for strangers.
ไม่ไอ้ได้ฝากไป 3,000 วันนี้เดี๋ยวก็จ่ายหมด
ถ้าเงินเหลือสัก5-6,000มันไม่เก็บหรอกจ้าเงินเหลือน้อยจ้า
Off the internet on your time. Think about that. You're excited to hear it's time that I hire an assistant. I see what you're doing. I see what you've done with clients. How do I do this? So I sent him everything. I sent him the processes, the test project, the profiling assessment, the whole thing. And he actually went on and hired somebody. And I remember a month later, I'm at his house and I'm like, yo man, how's the new assistant? I'm excited to hear how they're buying back your time. And he kind of replies with a bit of a sigh. And he's like, I don't really see what the big idea is. And when he did that, I knew exactly where he missed his opportunity. And I asked him one question. Is your assistant managing 100% of your emails that come into your life? Or are you just CCing that person on tasks they need to do? And he's like, oh, why? Is there a difference? Yes, there's a difference. Essentially, your inbox is a public to-do list for strangers off the internet on your time. Think about that. Your email is a sophisticated distraction machine from people that you may or not know of that are just asking you for time or your attention or messing with your feelings. So having somebody take that over is key, but most people don't know how to get that done right. There's 3 key strategies to really unlock an executive assistant when it comes to inbox. The first one is your folder structure. You need to create a place where all the emails come into one spot so that they can triage it. And the key folder out of the finance one and the to respond and all these other ones that I break down in my book is the review folder. And this is the folder where they will put all the things that they don't know how to handle. And as long as you have a schedule to meet with your assistant to review that review folder, nothing will stay there for too long. And that's your opportunity to train them, to coach them, to teach them how to think about your life and have them process things for you. Now, the second thing is the daily meeting. It's the rhythm. It's the sync. What do you review when it comes to your email with your assistant? So for me, it's always that review folder. It's always doing a quick scan of things in the to respond, which meant that these are her task lists, things that they need to move forward. And it's also the things that are in the responded folder. So I know how they've been communicating to the people in my life so that I can get comfortable with them understanding more context and doing things on my behalf. Now, the third thing is the inbox SOP, the standard operating procedure. And here's how it works is as your assistant is processing your emails and talking to people and scheduling things and taking a lot of stuff off your plate, You want them to document what they're doing, right? Let's say you get an email from somebody asking you to be involved in their charity. Create a response, okay? One where it's yes, I want to do this, and one where it's not, and have them add that as a template into your email system, but more importantly, into the inbox procedure. And the more they add to it, the more they create, the more they respond to people on your behalf, you'll be able to add all these different nuances and scenarios into your inbox procedure so that they and future people can come into your life, support you in your inbox so that you have the folder structure, you have the daily meeting for review, and the procedure to make that awesome. The second pillar is the calendar, right? My rule is nothing goes in or out of my calendar without my assistant being aware. Why? Because they own my time. When you can delegate your schedule to somebody else, then you can be free of knowing that you're doing the most important thing right now and not be distracted, not wondering if something's going to get missed or something needs to be scheduled. You can just give that to somebody else and they own it. Now, some of you guys are going to be freaking out. I know that when I was building my company, Flowtown, my co-founder Ethan and I, we had a hard time to schedule things because I was the bottleneck. I was the one that he'd send me an email, we need to schedule this meeting, and I would be like, I don't want to get back to him right away, right? Or I don't know if I want to do that. I'm trying to keep my Fridays open so maybe I can go skiing or whatever it was. And eventually I brought in my executive assistant and I realized that when it comes to calendar, these are the 3 key areas you have to get right. The first one is a perfect week. You know, if you're gonna have somebody else manage your calendar, then you need to give them the blocks of time where you want to do certain things, where you want to do sales calls, where you want to have team meetings, where you want to go to the gym, where you have family time, where you have relationship time with your partner, where you decide that you want to connect with your friends. And once you give them that scaffolding, then they can easily review the demands on your time, things that you've asked them to add or scaffolding, then they can easily review the demands on your time, things that you've asked them to add or emails that come to you to get scheduled, and they can put it in the right place and the right frequency so you don't feel overwhelmed. You don't feel like somebody's just taking stuff and you've always got to be the filter. So that's the first step. The second thing is you need to make sure that you review the calendar with them, and I call it calendar complete. When I look at my calendar on Sunday night, I expect my calendar to be complete from the previous Friday. What that means is that everything that I need, every meeting that was scheduled, all the details, the calendar is complete so that now I can review all the projects and the goals that I've set for my own life and add any open spots, the projects or the creative activities that are going to help move those forward. And they could be phone calls, right? But the calendar has to be complete for the following week so that you can add your things and make sure that it's designed so that the activities to achieve your goals are in there. The last thing is using your notes for context. So in every calendar invite, there's a description section, the notes section. I essentially ask my assistant that whatever I need for that meeting, if it's a link to a project file, if it's a resource file, if it's a booking confirmation, if it's literally everything, the context, if it's a podcast interview, I want to know who I'm speaking with, what are the questions that they've sent ahead of time for me to prep on. That way I know that the calendar's got the context for me to move forward so I can go from meeting to meeting to meeting and quickly ramp up before I have those conversations. It saves me a lot of time. Now I'm going to give you a tip. If sometimes other people schedule with you where your system might book a Calendly link in their calendar because you've requested the meeting, then you can add a second meeting called notes, and in the description of that, which is coinciding right along the original booking, you can add all the information for the context to that meeting. So oftentimes I'll ask somebody for a meeting, but by the time I have that conversation, which could be 2 or 3 weeks, I'll forget what it was about. So my assistant will put notes in there and tell me, they'll literally copy and paste the original email in there so I can see that and go, oh, there's notes for this conversation. And I'll read the email, get the context, and be able to show up with perfect information so I can really deliver for that person. Number 3 is travel. When it comes to understanding where I am and what I'm doing and who I'm talking with, there is a special person in my life that needs to kind of know what's going on to synchronize, and that is my wife. Now, she doesn't care who I meet with. She doesn't want to be the last person to know that I'm meeting with her sister that I meet with. she didn't kind of know what's going on to synchronize, and that is my wife. Now, she doesn't care who I meet with. She doesn't want to be the last person to know that I'm meeting with her sister to help her with her business, or her best friend to help her business, or another friend to work on a charity thing. Like, she just wants to be informed. And oftentimes, because my life is pretty chaotic, I've got a lot of different business interests, and I'm always moving forward really fast, pretty chaotic. I've got a lot of different business interests, and I'm always moving forward really fast. I don't always know, and I don't manage my own calendar. So as it pertains to travel, booking flights, seating arrangements, all that stuff, we delegate that to other people, but I had to create tools to allow me to make sure that everything was in sync. And I want to share those with you, because if you're struggling right now with having somebody else book your travel and schedule your hotels and trying to get different people synchronized, you're going to want to implement these three. The first one is the preloaded year, and it's a template. You can click the link below to download my whole workbook for Buy Back Your Time, and it's included. Essentially, it's a one-page document where I can look at my whole year at a glance. It's every day is a little dot on this month, and there's 12 months on this page. And at a high level, I use my iPad and I highlight things and I circle them and I put in where I'm going to be, what I'm going to do, if my wife's doing stuff, if we've got our family vacations, if it's my events that I do, some key launches or whatever it is. It's all the big stuff on her part, our family. It's integrated into one place. And anytime we're talking to somebody about like going on a trip or speaking at an event, I always pull up this document so that I can see at a glance my whole year in one spot, and it helps her as well because I have it synchronized on my phone. Very simple. She has a link to it. She can go, oh, Dan's mountain biking this week. Okay, we're going to do it the following week. Or we'd love to go to this thing with a couple that we just met, but we can't do it because we're going to this other event. So having a one-pager helps with everything. The second thing is what we call trip files. So trip files are essentially a Google Doc that's created anytime we travel. And what it has inside of it is the accommodation, the transportation, the information inside of it is the accommodation, the transportation, the information about where we're going, what are we doing while we're there, some high-level agenda, and it's always linked up in all the calendar invites so that if my wife's like, you know, who's picking us up at the airport, I won't know that because my executive assistant managed it, but the information is always in the trip file. So what we have is an ongoing Google Doc with all of our different trips and vacations and etc. And we highlight the date and we link it to the trip file so that we always know where to go find the one for our next trip. And it's added in all of the calendar entries, and it's just a template that my assistant copies and pastes, puts all the information that's in my inbox into this one document, and my wife and I know where to go. The third thing I'm going to encourage you to add is a weekly sync with your executive assistant and your partner. I have to do this because, again, I'm not aware of everything that's going on in my life, and part of that weekly sync is really scanning forward. What are we doing the next 2 or 3 weeks? What's going on with childcare? How are you going to go to that event and I'm doing this event? And having two busy entrepreneurs in the same family, it requires this level of coordination and conversation. Because I'll tell you, when we didn't have this weekly sync meeting, we were always tripping over each other. We'd always have moments where some person was supposed to be driving a kid to some event and the other person's like, well, I've got this talk I got to give, or I'm going live, or I'm shooting my podcast, or I'm creating content for YouTube. Whatever was going on, it was always us stepping over each other. And we added this weekly sync and it solved it all. A very structured agenda. We review the key items, our travel, our weekend schedule, and anything that we need, we can action it off, get it, put it in there, and it is ready to go. The fourth core pillar is communication. If you've had an assistant in the past and they didn't work out, it's probably because you didn't set up a rhythm to communicate that allowed you to stay in sync for the person
Rhythm.
to understand your preferences or build context, what I call a context map about your world to be able to respond and move things forward without your involvement. So if you don't have these three things, this is probably what's holding you back. These are advanced strategies that I know, if you have an assistant today, will unlock a new level of communication to allow you to get more freedom and buy back that time. Number one is you have to have a daily sync with your executive assistant to review what's going on in your life. You need to give them the context, the conversations. You have to explain to them what that email means. You have to explain what that person means to you. You have to tell them the story of how decisions were made. And essentially what happens is over time, they will understand how you make decisions, who's important to you, how did they get work done, if they need to work with a legal team, a finance team, your travel agent, whoever it is, your estate lawyer. These are all things that an assistant can help broker communication, move projects forward if you have a daily sync that unpacks the nuances for how you want them to interact with those people. The second is what I call rerouting communication. So oftentimes I've got hundreds of emails coming at me. I've got dozens of messages through social media platforms coming to me every day. And what I've learned is one of my rules that you will teach people how to treat you. And if somebody messages you over SMS or WhatsApp or Facebook to coordinate something, and you're like, man, I really wish they would have emailed me so I could have this interaction in my inbox with my assistant. I'm not the person they should be asking directly because I don't know. But you keep replying, you taught that person that that's how they should communicate with you. So what I do is I reroute. When somebody messages me, like my buddy did today, and he's like, hey man, I want you to speak at our October event, I can screenshot that, reply all, loop in my assistant on text messages or Facebook or email, and just post that screenshot and then leave my contacts and then move it to email with my assistant. And she now knows to understand what the request is, that it's something I want to do, and that subtly cues the person to know, oh yeah, Dan likes when I email him, right? And you can politely remind them, like, hey, always better to email, that way it doesn't get stuck on me. That's the reroute process. The third is closing the loop. And this is something you need to ask your assistant to do every day and check that it gets done, because most entrepreneurs have a hard time letting go because they're worried that something's going to get dropped. And what happens is at night you're laying in bed and you're thinking about your day and you're like, oh geez, did they reply to that? I didn't see that email. Oh no, what did that get scheduled? Or oh my gosh, I had that big opportunity. I wonder if anybody got back to them. Or oh my gosh, I'm flying next week and I don't think I booked whatever it is. Like, those are the open loops that will drive you crazy. So what I ask my assistant to do is, we have a private Slack channel just for us, and she'll post closing the loop at the end of her day to write down all the things that she got done or moved forward. It's not a micromanagement thing. It's just a way for me to quickly scan and go, oh, cool, all these things are done. Good. I only honestly check it when I have a question because I don't want to bug her. And then that way she has almost like a personal accountability process to kind of work through and get things done and just kind of leave them there as kind of FYIs. So I never have to wake up in the middle of the night and go like, oh, did we ever book my mountain bike for that mountain bike trip? And then go find out like, oh, there it is. Okay, it got done last week. Perfect. Closing the loop is a powerful strategy to free up your mind and trust your assistant to keep moving things forward. Now, if you want to take things to another level, be sure to pick up a copy of my book, Buy Back Your Time, Get Unstuck, Reclaim Your Freedom, and Build Your Empire. Because in my world, an empire is not this big, crazy, scary thing. It's literally a life of unlimited creation you never have to retire from. And that's what I want for you. So if you're sick of building the business that you grow to hate, be sure to get a copy of my book to unlock opportunities in so many ways to show up as a leader, to really buy back your time and build your empire. As per usual, I want to challenge you to live a bigger life and a bigger business, and I'll see you next Monday.
Hello, health champions. Today we're going to talk about what would happen if you drink apple cider vinegar before bedtime. And I call the video that because a lot of people have asked due to some videos suggesting that you should drink it before bedtime. But we're going to cover all possible scenarios so you really understand what would be best for you. But the best time for you depends on the mechanism involved that would benefit you, and that determines the timing. So first we have to understand what are the different things that apple cider vinegar can do for you. And the first thing it can do is to help digestion. And the reason it can do that is that it's an acid. But it is not a very strong acid. If we compare the pH of apple cider vinegar to the stomach acid, hydrochloric acid, then we see that apple cider vinegar has a pH of 2.5 to 3.5, which is quite acidic, but it's still very weak compared to hydrochloric acid, which is between 1 and 2. And if you understand that pH is an exponential scale, then the difference between these two ranges is about 30 to 100 times. So hydrochloric acid is 30 to 100 times stronger. So even though apple cider vinegar helps digestion tremendously, it does not actually digest anything by itself. What it does is it primes the digestive tract. It jump starts the action. And in the stomach, there are some cells called parietal cells that make this hydrochloric acid for us. And the apple cider vinegar triggers or stimulates the parietal cells to do that. And then as a result, an enzyme called pepsin is released that starts pre-digesting our proteins. And this all takes place in the stomach so far. But then the next step is that we also stimulate the gallbladder to release bile, and then we stimulate enzymes to be released from the pancreas. And that takes place in the small intestine, but it is set up by the action in the stomach. So everything happens in a certain sequence, and one thing leads to another, and the apple cider vinegar can start off this process. And the pancreas releases proteases to digest protein further down now into individual amino acids. It releases lipases to break down fat, which the gallbladder started with the bile, and also some carbohydrate breakdown with amylase. And apple cider vinegar can be very, very helpful here because a lot of people have something called hypochlorhydria, which means they don't make enough hydrochloric acid, enough stomach acid by themselves. So apple cider vinegar can help stimulate this process. And if you don't have enough, now you can get symptoms like bloating and all sorts of different forms of indigestion. You can get malabsorption, meaning if you don't start the digestive process properly, then you also can't absorb the nutrients properly. And in addition to protein, we can also be missing out on iron, calcium, and magnesium. And if we don't have enough acid, we can also get acid reflux, or GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. And this is one of the biggest misconceptions out there because people feel the burning and they think they have too much acid, which is usually not the case. Typically, people don't have enough acid, and when we don't break down the food properly, then it just sits there, and now that's what starts bubbling back up and creating the symptoms. Apple cider vinegar can also help you with blood sugar control because the active ingredient in apple cider vinegar is called acetic acid. And by improving the acidity in the stomach, we slow the gastric emptying and we slow down the absorption of carbohydrates and the rate that they turn into sugar, and therefore we're not going to get the blood sugar spikes the same way. In fact, they found that people taking apple cider vinegar with a meal, or before a meal rather, they could get up to 34% more insulin sensitivity. And the effects were greater when people with insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes that already had some trouble with this. Apple cider vinegar can also improve your fat burning. It can stimulate fat burning. And the reason it does that is that apple cider vinegar or acetic acid will increase the activity of AMP kinase or AMPK. And AMP stands for adenosine monophosphate. And if you notice, that sounds a lot kind of like adenosine triphosphate. And the reason is they are kind of similar. They're part of the same process. So we have this little group, this molecule called adenosine, and then that is hooked up to a phosphate group. And this phosphate group, if we have one, that makes it adenosine monophosphate. But we could have more of these hooked up, and if we have two, that's called adenosine diphosphate, ADP. But what we're really wanting is the energy currency of the body called adenosine triphosphate, ATP. So the more of these phosphates we have hooked up, the more they act like
adenosine
a high energy state. It's like we're storing energy in a spring here. And when we have ATP, we are fully loaded to take advantage of that energy, and we can release one of these springs and we can get that energy back. Then it turns into ADP, and usually we just go from ADP to ATP back and forth, but in a really low energy state it becomes adenosine monophosphate. So this AMPK, it monitors the ratio between the very low energy states of AMP and the high energy states called the ATP. So if that ratio is off, then if that AMP is relatively high, then that means that we need a lot more energy. So we always have different amounts of AMP, ADP, and ATP, and the body monitors, the AMP kinase monitors these ratios, and if we have a relatively high ratio, higher than normal amount of AMP and lower than normal amount of ATP, that indicates that it's a low energy state. And apple cider vinegar can shift this a little bit to get this process started to make energy a little bit easier. So therefore it will tend to increase fat burning to make energy and reduce fat storage. And it can also help a little bit more that apple cider vinegar will reduce appetite by increasing a satiety hormone, a hormone that makes you feel more full, more easy, called GLP-1. And apple cider vinegar can also help improve your gut health, because the active ingredient in apple cider vinegar, like we said, is called acetic acid, and that's actually a short-chain fatty acid that is produced by some gut bacteria, but it is also consumed by other gut bacteria. So by taking some apple cider vinegar, we can also give these beneficial bacteria a little bit of a prebiotic, a little bit of food to enhance their function. And apple cider vinegar also contains some organic acids that can increase the function, that can stimulate the beneficial bacteria and inhibit the harmful strains of bacteria. And if you get an unfiltered, usually organic, but unfiltered apple cider vinegar, it contains a little bit of stuff, a little bit of cloudiness at the bottom, and that's they call the mother, and that contains some enzymes and some bacteria that act like probiotics for these bacteria in the gut. So there are many different ways that apple cider vinegar can actually support and improve the overall gut balance. So now that you understand what apple cider vinegar can do for you, now the timing, when to take it, depends on what you're trying to accomplish. So look at what your primary reasons would be out of the things that we talked about. And if you were to take apple cider vinegar first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, now it will do the following. It will prime your digestion for later. So even if you're only going to eat like many hours later, you're still starting a process that will help your body be ready for it when you eat. And in the meantime, you're going to help clear up any undigested residue. So it's like a cleanup and a detox process, if you will. It will also support the gut biome, like we talked about, and it will kickstart your AMPK and your fat burning and your metabolism and your energy production a little bit. And when you stimulate the pancreas to release enzymes, but there's no food in the digestive tract, then these enzymes are going to sort of be latent for later, but there's also going to be some of that enzymes getting out in the systemic circulation and have a mild systemic effect and start cleaning up various different protein and different kinds of junk. And if you were to take the apple cider vinegar before a meal, you want to allow at least 15 to 20 minutes before the meal. And now you will get enhanced digestion. You will jumpstart it like we talked about. Thereby, you will break down the food better. And it is critical that you
คราวนี้ฟังคุณหมอบ้าง
complete the first step
เขาบอกว่ากินไอ้ apple cider vinegar มีประโยชน์เถอะทั้งก่อนอาหารนะก่อนนอนก็มีประโยชน์
step of breakdown so that the later steps will work better. And the better you can do these first steps, the more benefit you're going to get out of the food. So now you're going to absorb the nutrients in the food better. You're going to utilize them better. And we're talking primarily protein and minerals, but all foodstuffs will be better absorbed. So that includes fat and carbohydrate too. And there's a good chance you will reduce your acid reflux if you have issues with that. But like we talked about, one of the huge benefits is that you will reduce your blood sugar spikes. You will improve your insulin sensitivity dramatically. And you can also take it before bed, like we suggested in the title, and then you would improve the following primarily. You would improve your gut health, you would support that, and you would improve your blood sugar control. And this would be especially important if you have a tendency to wake up with high blood sugars. If you're insulin resistant or a diabetic, a lot of those people will wake up with very high blood sugar. And by taking apple cider vinegar, you can kind of work on this throughout the night. But what this means also is that if you have a tendency to become hypoglycemic and Maybe you don't even sleep so well. Maybe you have unrestful sleep because of your blood sugar swings and you tend to drop low. Then that would be a contraindication. That's a strong reason not to take the apple cider vinegar before bed. And because it can help stabilize blood sugar and blood sugar control, in some people it may even improve the quality of sleep. But we do recommend, if you do it that way, that you rinse your mouth after taking the apple cider vinegar, and that you wait about 30 minutes to brush your teeth, though, because the apple cider vinegar can kind of soften the enamel, so you don't want to get anything abrasive in there. It can kind of soften the enamel. Also, you don't want to get anything abrasive in there within that 30-minute period. But now let's talk about the dosage. Also, does it change depending on when you take it? Well, a little bit. So if you take it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, you would typically take 1 tablespoon, and that's about 15 milliliter.
Oh, finish breakfast everyone.
My dream and I get everything that I damn well please. I don't give a damn if you all listen to me, cause I want it. I'm the only one that really want it. I'm the only one that's really got it. I'm just being honest. I'm just doing everything I promise, cause I want it bad enough that I'ma make it as an artist. And I know I'm not the smartest, and I know I'm not the largest, but I promise you that I'ma be the one that work the hardest, cause I promise you that I'm just getting started. And I promise you that my skills are getting sharper, so I'ma get started. Can't be guarded, nah, I don't wanna get retarded. Get the party started, yeah, get the party started. Yeah, so let me get up on it. Yeah, bitch, you got me fucked up. I don't know what's up. Pour that shit in my cup. We about to turn up, crank this shit up so loud. Sounds like we're sold out in front of the whole crowd. We just control now. Don't take this shit too personally. Everybody got a different version of me. Everybody gotta be learning from me. Everybody wanna be working with me, and I feel like there's uncertainty and urgency to find out what you wanna be. But honestly, we change our minds constantly, so stop and breathe and find out who you wanna be. So I'd be cautious. I hope that you're watching. Don't try to stop this. Work until I'm nauseous, cause I will not quit. No, because I want this. Don't try to stop me. You're an option. So I'd be cautious. I hope that you're watching. Don't try to stop this. Work until I'm nauseous, cause I will not quit. Because I want this. Don't try to stop me. Trade up, live the life you want now, a life you don't doubt. I can give a fuck how, just get your grit out. Wake up, man. cautious. I hope that you're watching. Don't try to stop this. Walk until I'm nauseous. Cause I will not quit. No, because I want this. Don't try to stop me. You're an option. So I'm cautious. I hope that you're watching. Don't try to stop this. Walk until I'm nauseous. Cause I will not quit. No, because I want this. Don't try to stop me. Yeah. Everybody knows that I'm breaking down. Everybody knows I ain't faking now. Everybody knows my heart's faking now. Yeah, she hates me now. I made mistakes, but now I don't ever wanna be alone. I don't really ever feel at home. On my own, in the zone. That's the only way I know. Feeling low, about to blow back up. Here I go, let the doubt creep in. Gotta pop a couple more aspirin. I don't think I'll ever let you in. Easier to break it off best friends. I don't really understand myself. I don't really understand, need help. I don't wanna be left on the shelf. Couldn't even hear me if I yelled. It's so cold outside. I'm alone, I'm alright. It's so cold outside. I'm alone, I'm alright. It's so cold I don't wanna break down. Always feel like I could break now, but I never let it take me to that place now. I won't ever let my thoughts get away now. I got better things to do, picking fate now. I just wanna be the best, call me great now. I don't know if I'm okay or insane now. I remember better days on the playground, hoping I can find my way even when I'm feeling down. I fight, even when I don't know what is right. I'm a bigger side and I'ma take pride. I will decide my fate and die. Will never let them tell me who I am. If you try to shake me, I'll be damned. Planet on the ground is where I stand. Never give up, that was always the plan. It's so cold outside. I'm alone, I'm alright. It's so cold outside. I'm alone, I'm alright. It's so cold. My hands steady, I feel ready, but my legs heavy, I don't get it. How come I haven't hit it already? I'm still working, I'm still learning, I'm still searching, finally earning something, finally turning something called a profit. If I hear you talking shit, don't get caught in it. I'll be popping off and hit your ass, dropping all your shit. Yeah, I promise this, I got promises. You ain't stopping this, cross my shit, you'll be knocked unconscious, bitch. That's the consequence. I got this, I will not quit, and I'm on it, honest. I go launch quick, and I'm gone. It's just a matter of time before I'm over the line and moving under my prime. Just quit my 9 to 5, I'm rocking. They watching, cause it's shocking, dropping all these top 10 songs, so stopping. It's time to live my life, it's time to live my die. Wish I could slow down time and just enjoy the fire. Let's go. Yeah, I'm the one to get it, bro. I swear to God, I'll get it, bro. Hey, I ain't never giving up. Yeah, I never give up. I got this when I got it. I will rock when I'm on it. Never rock it. Got the rock when I'm toxic. Saying logic, make I'm nauseous. Honest, did I stop this? I'm the hardest. Rock, bitch, watch it. I'm the
Yo! Yay!
Shows how it goes, I don't know, but I'm waiting till I'm chose for